Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing, kind of how quarantine may come to an end with respect to tourists looking to come into Thailand. And I'm really speaking kind of interchangeably with sort of the Thai mainland and specifically Bangkok, sort of Pattaya, Hua Hin. And these dark red zones, basically Bangkok's been on lockdown. I kind of view, and I know folks in Chiang Mai or Phuket or on the islands, maybe Pattaya or Hua Hin might kind of view this as a Bangkok-centric view. But, being here in Bangkok, to me, it is sort of the window on Thailand. I mean, when it's open, effectively the country is effectively open, although, there may be provincial travel rules or some things like that. Long story short, when Bangkok starts to reopen, and presumably sort of the rest of Thailand, will this sort of happen instantaneously insofar as, from 1 month or 1 week to the other, it'll go from a 2-week quarantine for even for vaccinated tourists to 0 quarantine, where you come in and, okay, you may do a day in quarantine, do a test, and then you can, albeit perhaps in a sandbox model where you have to stay, for example, in Bangkok, or maybe have to stay in Pattaya or Hua Hin, just as an example. But then you can move around that area. Is that going to happen instantaneously, or are we looking at a more step down kind of thing? Let me be clear. I don't know. To my mind, there does seem to be some logic in predicting that maybe it goes in kind of a phased kind of way of dealing with it. And the reason for that is back in April, before we went back into all this lockdown and things, we were starting to see them start to implement a reduction in quarantine. And we it basically, and it did happen for like about 10 days. It wasn't very long, but we went from a 14-day to a 7-day quarantine for certain individuals vaccinated, various conditions applied, but it was possible. And there were some folks, we actually assisted some folks in getting in under that, and they actually did 7 days and then managed to get out for be released or gain their freedom, whatever you want to call it, after that time period. I could see it going either way. I mean, personally, my personal opinion is I don't really understand why vaccinated people need to be held for a prolonged period of time. Okay, maybe a night to double check and retest, but then at that point, they are vaccinated. So presumably they should be able to go about their business. That said, I'm not the one making policy here. So yeah, I have had some folks ask me about this. Hey, based on prior circumstances, do you think it's possible they may re-implement this in sort of a step-down manner? Remains to be seen. We'll certainly keep folks updated on this channel as the situation progresses.